Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is goalie rebound testing. So all these pads, we have Hyperlite, Ultrasonic, Optik 2, Warrior G5, Axis, 2X Pro, and JRZ Fusion. All of these are going to be in the rebound testing video. And we did something a little bit different for this video. It took a couple times to get right. Normally, I have the Boney right up against that door and shooting pucks down here, as you can see, the net, and then I had the speed camera basically in that corner. But I found it was really hard to aim the Boney. This thing isn't as accurate as I was hoping it would be. It's always off a little bit up and down. So we changed some things up here. So instead of the Boney being back there, we moved it basically to where this thing was right here. And that way we would have an angle. And I was hoping the angle would be a little bit more accurate than like a direct on shot. So what we did is we basically had the Boney here and it was shooting on this angle and the net was tilted forward with the speed camera at the back right there. That way the camera would only really pick up anything directed into the net. And obviously you're gonna see how this works in a second. I'm not really thrilled with this. There's too many variables in how this all worked. I tried to make it as even as possible and as consistent as possible, but we'll kind of cover that at the end. But anyways, here's a bunch of rebounds. I would do is I would take 10 shots, but 10 readable shots. So basically, if a rebound wasn't read on the machine, we didn't count it. So we took 10 shots that read on the actual speed camera that sits over there. And then we're going to take the total of it and kind of tally it up and see what the average is and kind of compare them. But once this is all done, I'll talk about the results at the end and why I'm not really happy with them. Before we jump into all that, if you like this content, if you think it's helpful, and if you want to see more of it, reach out to the manufacturer. I'll let them know this is helpful. And with that said, if you are in the United States and you're looking to buy hockey equipment, if you click the link in the description to Pure Hockey, Pure Goalie, anything purchased through there will give me a kickback, so help support channels so I can do stuff like this. Otherwise, if you want to support me, check out Patreon and buy me a coffee. Links are in the description. 39, 30, 26, 30, 31, 30, 28, 36, 34, 21, 31, 27, 40, 36, 36, 33, 34, 30, 30, 35, 29, 41, 29, 23, 30, 30, 27, 38, 34, 41, 28, 38, 43, 25, 30, 37, 31, 34, 35, 32, 32, 32, 30, 30, 21, 35, 31, 32, 36, 27, 29, 34, 29, 44, 30, 23, 36, 36, 20, 28, 33, 31, 22, 35, 33, 26, 32, 34, 34, 29, 26. Okay, a little higher. I'm gonna try to block her. All right, so that was the pad rebound test. So before anything else, I was just trying to see at the end if I could get a reading of the blocker rebound with the radar gun, and it didn't work at all. So I was just trying to see if I could actually get anything, and I never got one result from it. But it's also really hard to hit in the right direction and actually stop it because the bony is so inconsistent. Now, with that said, I am not happy with these results at all. Not because of the results of where the pads finish, but because the inconsistencies of basically everything, and I'm not confident that it's a fair comparison. I wanted to do 10 shots to get kind of a basis and enough for an average, but it was very clear to me when watching the footage back, and it was clear when it was happening, but even more so when watching the footage back, that there was just way too many inconsistencies between where the puck hit. Like, you could see it all over the place. Use my handy thing. You could see it down here. You could see it off the boot when it would hit here twice, and then it would like hit the boot. You could see it higher up. You could see it bounce off the ground first. You could see it like hit up here. You could just see the puck flutter or hit flat versus just hitting like straight on. The bony itself was really inconsistent in terms of accuracy, more so than I ever thought it was going to be. I obviously knew going into this, doing this test, that it was going to be inconsistent, but I was hoping I'd still get decent results with it. The other problem with the bony is the speed inaccuracies with it. So I shot at 65 volts on the machine for this test, and the range of miles per hour that I measured in this in the past was between 50 and 60. So clearly that's way too big of a gap. And that's like the average range was 50 to 60. There were some in the 40s and there were some like 66. So there's way too big of a gap all over the place and too many variables all over the place for me to really be happy with these results. But I figured I'd put this video out there because it's really the only video I think of this out there. And while it's not a scientific result, I thought it was interesting anyways, and you can kind of see the tail off of generally what a shot speed is compared to what the rebound is. The whole point of this was to hit basically right here and see where the rebounds would come off. But I guess the angle of the bony and the shot machine, a lot of pucks would hit here, hit the boot, and then come off, or other ones would just miss this, hit the boot, and go back. So the numbers and readings weren't good at all, and I'm kind of disappointed with that. But in order to actually get this working right and actually accurate, I would need a measuring device of the bony shooting, which is better than the actual radar gun I have. The hockey shot radar gun I'm using is super inaccurate anyway, so it's not that great. So I need to basically have two better radar guns, better lighting so the radar guns can actually pick up the puck, then like a perfect shot tube so it would come out the exact same spot all the time. And it's not possible. So it is what it is. It's still interesting enough that like I said, I think that this is useful to be out there. I'm going to be doing this for future pads and demo pads I get, just because it's an interesting thing. I really wish I had a softer pad and a pad that deadens rebounds, just to show off what should be a pretty big difference compared to all of these, which are supposed to be pretty big rebound pads. Unfortunately, I don't, so we just have to go with this. With that said, a few things I want to comment on in terms of what I noticed from the shots. The shots off the boot were generally pretty fast coming off, and they would kind of fly out. The other spots that seem to kind of fly is more towards the knee. And you could see like my leg move on the after he was getting hit, and that's gonna happen on ice too. Your leg's not gonna be totally still, and if you take a shot, it's gonna move a bit. So I don't really care that happened. But the thing I found was interesting is when a puck hits like down here, there's less pad flex, and the rebound seems higher than if a pad hits up here. And that's, I think, more noticeable in pads like this one, which are pretty soft on the core, so you can kind of flex it. And this one too, because you can flex that one too. And less noticeable on like these, where these are very stiff across the face and they don't really move as much. But I thought it was pretty interesting because I think one of the best shots was pretty low on the Warrior and then off the boot of the Warrior. Now, with that said, for the results themselves, I'll show it the whole results on the screen. You saw the numbers if you watched this thing. The G5 won it all with 33.3 miles an hour. The Axis was second with 33.2. The 2X Pro was third with 32.2. So one difference between that, 0.1 difference between these two. Optik 2 was 31.3, JRZ was 30.8, Ultrasonic was 30.5, and Hyperlite was 30.2. Some other things to note, the fastest shot was the Optik 2, which was a 44. G5 was next with a 43. The 2X Pro had two 41s. I mentioned I wasn't happy with these results, and that is because of me watching the shots and watching how inconsistent everything is. But the other thing that is a little disconcerting to me is these results are a lot different than what I've noticed in person. Now, I'm not going to say I can judge the MPH of a shot that comes off my pad. That's not a thing. I can't do that. But I have noticed certain pads have bigger rebounds in certain conditions, well, in most conditions. And I will say that out of all this, I was expecting the Warrior to be the lowest because I have noticed it kicks out rebounds less than most here. The JRZ I was expecting to be a little lower, and it was pretty low. These two, which were the lowest, I was not expecting. I was expecting them to be a little higher, but I was expecting the 2X Pro to be higher than the Ultrasonic because that has been my experiences so far. Axis was a little higher. I expected 2X Pro to be the best all around, just to be honest. This I expected close to the Axis, and the Axis beat it. So the way that I can kind of tell when pads are shot hard or like softer is I play the RVH a lot. So I'm hugging up against the post. A guy will be coming down the red line, take a shot, puck will hit here and bounce out. I think it's a pretty good indicator of like rebound strength because one, your leg is planted against the post, so it's not going anywhere. Two, these aren't like massive slap shots. They're more of quick shots like that, just trying to jam something in or a quick release. So they're going to be pretty close to each other. And then you also have a good idea of the rebound on it because you have the boards and it's basically going straight back out to the boards. Because I hug the post like this, it's almost a straight like bounce and rebound. The results from me noticing that in real usage, 2X Pro is really good for it. The Warrior is not very good for it because of this padded part. It seems pucks really die off that, but they didn't in this video, so it's interesting findings there. This one is just okay with it. It's not amazing. This one was pretty good with it. These are pretty good with it, and this one's just okay, not amazing. One thing that I did find that was pretty interesting, and you can notice it in some of the shots, is you can see dents happen. And so for this pad, there was a dent on the boot. This pad, there was two dents on the boot. This pad, you could see a ton of the marks. Same with the Hyperlite. I cleaned a bunch of the marks off, but you can see exactly where those marks happen. I posted a thing on Instagram for that too. And those go away. So it's interesting that the foam gets hit and then you can see the indentations and then it goes away. Same with like this one was a pretty big one down here too. And now it just feels like a normal pad. Like it doesn't feel totally flat, but you definitely don't have those massive, like there's a straight up puck indentation on the different spots. So that's kind of interesting with that. Overall, like I said, I'm not happy with these results at all just because there's too many inconsistencies with everything. I really was hoping the puck machine would be something that I could use as like a scientific testing method so I could really get the speeds over and over and over again. And its consistency is just not there. The speeds are all over the place. Like where it's shooting is all over the place. So it's pretty disappointing to me. I still can use it as a training tool. I can still use it for protection testing. I can still use it for checking this stuff out. But it is something that is disappointing to me. And I really wish this would be like a more scientific thing. And I really wish I could reproduce results, like the exact same results every time. I could go in the same spot, take a shot, and I could give you like within 5 miles per hour of where it would be. That's not the case at all with this. So I'm super disappointed with that. Like I said, I still think this is kind of interesting, and if people have issues with it, I welcome them to do their own versions of this testing and with more controlled variables in it. That would be great. There's accounts that get free gear. None of this gear was free to me. I've paid for every single piece of these, plus all my equipment that I use to do this stuff, so I can't fund to make this any better. So if someone has more money, like In Goal Magazine or anyone like that, and actually wants, or some store that gets all these demo stuff, I would love to see them do it, and I would love to see the results. But unfortunately, I'm going to keep these here and I'm going to write them down, but I'm going to put a big asterisk of I don't trust these results. I just think this is kind of interesting to talk about. So that's about it for this video. Hopefully it was interesting. I don't think it's going to be super helpful, but I mean, it is what it is. If you want to see more rebounds like this, regardless of if they're super scientific or not, please let me know. Let me know what pad you want to see for this. I would love to try an eFlex 5 for it. I think a Vaughn V9 would be really interesting for it. But yeah, so that's about it. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing tests and ideally at one point make this better and more scientific and more actual good usage. Any of you live in the United States, check out the link in the description to Pure Hockey, Pure Goalie. Click on that, make a purchase, gives me a kickback, so it helps support the channel and I can make content like this or better content. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out Patreon, buy me a coffee. Everything goes for there, comes right back in here so I can keep making videos, making content and doing real world testing and not just marketing spiels and actually using gear and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.